Man United, another win yesterday. Now 3 wins under Michael Carrick since taking over as the what they're calling him, the caretaker at Man United. Obviously, because their manager got sacked, but defeated Fulham 3-2 in a Premier League match at Old Trafford yesterday. Benjamin Sesko scored a 94th minute winner. They were up 2-0 late in that match. Ryan was watching the game before we started our episode on 2x speed to see how it actually wrapped up. But secured third consecutive victory, like I said, interim manager Michael Carrick, and were able to get that job done. So just a short good run of form for Man United. And I know I asked this question once upon a time on the show, and you were fairly adamant about the fact that this is not going to happen. And obviously, it has been said by the man himself that it's probably not going to happen. But the question was posed on ESPN today: is Michael Carrick less of a caretaker and more of a future option for Man United? But you say history shows otherwise, and it shows the inability of Man United to, actually hold on to someone who's worth holding on to. So what says you about the situation with Man United in the recent win streak as of late?
It's just as I put it at the bottom there, the Manchester United endless cycle of insanity. That is that's just what it is. And there's been caretakers before that have done really well. Shout out Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and we ultimately know how that thing wrapped up. And I'll tell you about this. The Manchester United endless cycle of insanity established since 2013, since Sir Alex Ferguson left. So here's what happens. New manager comes in, whether that's a caretaker or whether that is a new permanent manager. All of a sudden, they start winning some games. We saw that with Solskjaer, and we saw that, obviously, right now with Michael Carrick. Then all of a sudden, we get to the summer of that next window. Boom. Managers either promoted or now given a ton of money. So that interim is now, that caretaker, is promoted to full-time, and that manager is now given a ton of money to influx money into the squad. Then all of a sudden, they go out and make probably 2 to 3 $50 million plus signings, and all of a sudden everyone gets all happy and all that fun stuff. Shout out Anthony for $100 million. Man, did he suck?
Yeah,
that's a celebration. And then after that happens, all of a sudden the season gets going. Couple wins to start the season, and all of a sudden the manager starts to get figured out. The players stop caring, and then the results go. They start sucking. So all of a sudden, pressure starts to build on the manager. Then they get knocked out of the Carabao Cup to a Division 4 side, and they get knocked out of the Champions League and the Europa League. And then all of a sudden, the league, they're just outside the top 4. Then what happens? They're sacked. And then we do the cycle all over again. Look, the simple solution is Manchester United does not give managers enough time. That's simply what it is. If my guy Mikel Arteta was going to Manchester United, that guy would have been sacked within probably the first year of him being there. Look, he had horrible results with Arsenal, especially to start his second season. I think the only reason that saved him was COVID. I think that was the only reason that he got saved. But all of a sudden, he was given, he was given 4 transfer windows, 2 summers, 2 Januaries, and all of a sudden, he got his guys in, and then everything started to shift in the upward direction. And ever since then, they haven't really looked back. And big game tonight for them. But that's what Manchester United is. It's just an endless cycle of insanity, established since 2013, and been going on from 2013 to 2026. Look, do I think Michael Carrick is a good manager? I think he is. He did a really good job with Middlesbrough. But the only difference is he couldn't get them promoted into the Premier League. That's why he got sacked this past summer. He had a couple of good seasons, a really good record, about over a point and a half per game at his time at Middlesbrough. He's a good manager. But the thing is when you go to a club like Manchester United and you become a permanent manager there, if you don't win trophies, you aren't competing in Champions Leagues, you aren't competing in Europa Leagues, and he clearly wasn't getting the job done at Middlesbrough, you're ultimately going to get sacked. Look at Amorim. I mean, they were in the top half of the table. They were just outside the top 4, and the guy was getting sacked. So that's just ultimately what it is. And he's not going to be given enough time. He's going to take the permanent job, and ultimately that kind of ruins a lot of managers' success and their opportunity to get other jobs. I guess kind of, because David Moyes has a job now with West Ham, and he's now going to get sacked, but that's a different story. Ten Hag went to Leverkusen, and ultimately he's now sucking at Leverkusen. But that's not his fault. The whole team was gutted. Who else was there? Amorim doesn't have anything. I don't remember where Louis van Gaal went, and Solskjaer doesn't have a job either. And Michael Carrick seems like a guy that will ultimately lose. He's going to get sacked at some point within the calendar year, I believe. I believe, if not early 2027. That's if he's given the permanent job. And a lot of these managers that are seen as the caretaker, they don't want to be promoted full time because they know what can happen with Manchester United. It's like like taking the Cowboys job. You eventually got to win some stuff, and the Cowboys haven't been doing that obviously since the 90s, and Manchester United hasn't won anything really since 2013. Sure, they've won a Carabao Cup every now and again. They've won a Europa League here and there, but they just haven't competed. They haven't even competed in the Premier League since 2013. We're kind of allowed, they have a couple second place finishes, but if you look back at the table, it was a country mile between first and second. So no, that's why Carrick, if he does take the job, well, good luck, Michael.
I imagine it would be hard for anybody who is in a position to manage this team, even for a short amount of time. Probably has some serious trust issues with the front office. And that means that there's always going to be an air of uneasiness. There's always going to be an air of looking over your shoulder. And as a manager, the one thing you're looking for is trust. The comparison that I'll make is, do you ever meet those those people that are always in a certain they're in like the talking stages with someone every couple of months, like constantly they are talking to someone new, they are with someone new, they're doing something with someone new. Like it is almost pathological in the way that they do it, and you can almost set your watch to it, like it's going to last this long and then it's going to be over. They're going to find, the one thing that they don't like. There's no patience. There's no way to, there's no working through issues. It's just it's just over. The serial daters, if you will. That's what it's the person that you probably don't want to be around or be with, because you understand how this works. Like, we're going to be okay for this certain stretch of time, and then eventually it's just going to fall off a cliff and it's going to be over, and then we're starting from scratch again. So this is like these managers, and Michael Carrick being one of them, deciding, do I try to stick it out with the toxic person and just hope that maybe it goes well? Do I try to stick it out and think that, maybe they'll change, maybe they'll change their mind, maybe they'll act differently this time around? When people tell you who they are, believe them. Whether that be joking, whether that be whatever it is, if they tell you who they are, then believe them. And Man U has told you who they are a lot of times, and you just talked about the last decade plus of them acting this way. So for Michael Carrick, it's like, in what world would you ever want to put yourself in a position, much like if you're going to go after someone who's a serial dater, you put yourself in the position, you volunteer yourself to get your heart broken at some point. That you are volunteering to do that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You know what's around the corner. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when it's gonna happen. And that's where it's like, I don't care if Michael Carrick is in his mind the greatest manager of all time. You're not gonna work for a company that doesn't respect that, or thinks that they know everything, or thinks you have to change and readjust your style and everything you are about yourself to fit this image that Man United has of themselves, which doesn't exist, and it hasn't existed for a long, long time. So I don't, that's where that's like the life analogy that I feel like I can draw parallels between, so is Michael Carrick is really just a caretaker? No, I think he's more capable than that. I think he is capable of building a culture and winning matches and doing much better than what they've done in the past. But you need a front office that isn't toxic, that hasn't been through the litany of breakups that you just mentioned. And, sometimes when that stuff happens, when those situations don't really work out, it always pays to like look back at, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have, because that's going to help you grow into the future. I don't think
Yeah,
Man U has any sort of reflection. I don't think they have that side. I think it's everybody else's fault that we're in this position, not us. Not us.
you're
It isn't
right.
us. It can't possibly be us.
You're right,
So,
and
yeah.
you're not the only one that doesn't or that says that. And I just want to put this out there for the people. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, excuse me. He was simply there for a caretaker manager in 2018 and lasted quite a while actually. He had a 74% win rate during his time. He won 14 games in 19 games with only 3 losses. So a 74% win rate. Then let's look at his when he became the permanent manager. He managed 168 matches, won 91, but that win percentage dropped to 54% with 40 losses and 37 draws. And obviously that's, a bigger sample size, so you're going to lose more games obviously. But to have a 74% win rate as a caretaker and then all of a sudden a 54% win rate as a permanent manager over the time there, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about here because what happens in these new manager bumps, and we see it in hockey all the time,